Okay, good morning. So let us continue the lesson. So if you remember, we were talking about rational expressions. We learned how to multiply them, divide them. First we learned how to simplify one rational expression, and then we learned how to multiply and divide them. And I started the lesson how to add them and subtract them. Yes. But I just gave you very simple examples in which the denominators were just only numbers. Okay, we want to improve the difficulty, actually make it promote those questions to a harder questions, and it is actually very, very important. The time that you spend here on this topic actually worth it, because in the next year or even in trigonometry, so you should be able to solve problems related to what you learn in this lesson. And the next lesson coming after this is about the limit of functions. And if you want to simplify, if you want to calculate limit of functions, in principle, you really need to know how to simplify rational expressions mainly. Okay, of course that's a conceptual lesson, but if you want to solve problems, you have to improve your skill here. Let me start with a little bit harder, not harder, but let me just give you a different type of examples in which we want to add or subtract some rational expressions, and I want to put the final answer in the simplest possible form. But now I want to give questions in which you have some variables in the denominators as well. Okay, so this is the question that I want to solve now. For example, let me write here 14x squared minus 521xy. Okay, so this is also a very simple question, but at least you see some variables in the denominator. So here I am facing two rational expressions. I want to subtract them. The first thing that you need to do, I will change my color to blue to write the solution. Okay, so the first thing is important. I told you that, of course, if you multiply this by that, 14x squared multiplied by 21xy, I don't know, then I have to multiply 14 by that. It's 294 or something, yes? 210 and 84, yes? And then it becomes x to the power of 3y. You can use this as the common multiple. By the way, what is the meaning of common multiple? It means that is an expression that is simultaneously divisible by these two expressions. That's called the common multiple. Don't get confused by common divisor. Do you have some questions?
Do you have a recording on now?
Yes.
Then I have it.
Okay. So so you multiply them. So that's a common multiple. It means that this expression is divisible by this and simultaneously divisible by that. Don't get confused by common divisor. So let me just give you in numbers. If I ask you what is the common multiple between 3 and 5, I am asking you for a number which is divisible by 3 and 5. So you can say 15, you can say 30, and so forth, yes? But if I ask you what is the common divisor between 3 and 5, what would be the answer?
There isn't one?
What?
There isn't one?
Yeah, there is only one. That's 1 itself, yes? 3 is divisible by 1. 5 is also divisible by 1. So if I ask you about the common divisor, that there is only one, so this is why I use the common divisor, and that is 1. But if I ask you what is the common multiple, I cannot say what is, because there are infinitely many. Yes? So be careful about the common multiple and divisor. In this context, we don't work with this. We only care about common multiples. Yes? And of course, this is not the best choice, even though this definitely will work, but this is not a very efficient one. I want to change common multiple to least common multiple, if possible. So between 3 and 5, it's inevitable. 15 is the lowest one. This is coincidentally the product. But if I ask you what is the least common multiple between 3 and 6, if you multiply them, it becomes 18. This is a common multiple, but not the least one. What is the least one? 6 itself. So in these problems, it's important to care about this adjective list, yes?
Wait, Paul, is
Yes.
it 3?
No, I told
Why?
you the other way. No, that is the divisor. Don't
Okay.
get confused between divisor and multiple. If you say 3,
Yeah.
that is the greatest common divisor.
Right.
Common divisor means those numbers should be divisible by that. When you say 3, you are right in this sense that 3 is divisible by 3, 6 is also divisible by 3. I want the other way around. I want something which is divisible by them.
Okay.
Is that understandable? If you say 3, 3 is not divisible by 6. If you divide 3 by 6, it becomes 0.5. It's not whole number. Yes? So if I ask you what is the greatest common divisor, then you would say 3. If I ask you what is the least common multiple, then you say 6. Is that clear? Because that's an important difference. If you don't understand, you will face
I
problems.
think I understand.
Okay, good. So what I'm saying is that even though this common multiple is a correct one and it will work in this problem, I really recommend you not to go for it. Try to pay attention to this adjective least common multiple. So in that case, this is not the efficient one. What would be the efficient one? So I told you, how should I find the least common multiple? I need to factorize the expressions, which I don't need to do in this problem. They are already in the factorized form. They are in product form. Now I need to choose the common factors with the highest power. Yes? So let us think about factors. 14 is 2 and 7. Yes? 2 times 7. 21 is what? 3 times 7. So what I want to write, and then I have a factor of x and I have a factor of y. So in principle, if you go to a scratch paper, what you do, you have 2, 3, and 7. 2, 3, and 7. You have x and y, but you need to choose the highest power. What is the highest power of 2? Here is 1, here is 0, so the highest power is 1. What is the highest power of 3? Here is 1, here is 0, so it is 1. What's the highest power of 7? 1. So 2, 3, 1 is okay. What is the highest power of x? Is 2. What is the highest power of y? Is just 1. So that is the number, that's the expression I want you to write as the least common multiple. And if I multiply them, it becomes 42 x squared y. You see, this is much easier, not much easier in this case because the problem is not that hard, but it's still, I hope that you agree with me, this is simpler to work with respect to this one. Instead of working with 294, I'm working with 42, and instead of working with x to the 3y, I'm working with x squared y. Yes? So be careful, this is extremely important to pay attention to this adjective least, otherwise you will face problems, okay? You don't need to write anything like this in the exam for me. If you come up with the correct one, that's enough. You just write it, okay? You don't need to explain it. But what should I do after that? After that, I have to do this process. In the book, they are rescaling it, make the denominators the same, and then subtracting them. I don't think it is. That's the same idea if we do it quickly, yes? So I would say that 42x squared y divided by that. Can you do it in your head? If I divide this expression by that, what is left for me? 42 divided by 14 is 3. X squared divided by x squared is 1. But y is left alone, so it becomes 3y, yes? So if you divide this in your head by that one, you get 3y, yes? And then you multiply this 3y to the numerator, whatever it is, to the whole numerator. So it becomes 9y, yes? And then I have subtraction. And then I repeat the process with the second one. Again, in your head, divide this by that. What would be that?
2.
2 from numbers point of view. X squared in your head divided by x x is left, y divided by y, 1 is left. So it becomes 2x. And then you multiply 2x there. So what is the answer? It becomes 10x. Okay? Here, because I have asked you to write it in the simplest possible form, you need to think, is it possible to simplify this expression? How should I answer that question? If I want to simplify one single rational expression, you see, here I had two rational expressions. I subtracted them. It becomes one new, bigger or simpler, I don't know, rational expression. You need to think, can I simplify this more? How should I simplify that? I need to factorize the numerator and the denominator. The denominator is already in factorized form, but the numerator, can I factorize it?
No.
No, so it's left, so nothing can be simplified in this form. So that would be the final answer to this problem. Very simple. Let me start with very simple examples and then increase the level of difficulty. Okay, so what happens if I want to do this? So x over x minus 4 minus 2 over x. So if you want to do this subtraction, so what I'm supposed to do, I change my color for the answer. Okay, I have to factorize this, but this is already in its, it's not reducible anymore. It's in the factorized form. And this is already in factorized form. So what I need to do, I need to find the least common multiple. So what is the least common multiple? I need to write an expression, okay, containing the factors with the lowest power. If I ask you what is the factor for x minus 4 as a whole is its factor. And what is the factor for x? That's x. So I need to multiply them with the lowest possible. So here it's a coincidence. If I ask you what is the least common multiple, coincidentally the least common multiple is also the product. It's like 3 and 5, you see? If I ask you what is the least common multiple, you would say 15. And of course 15 is here coincidentally the product itself. So sometimes it is the product, but sometimes it is not. You need to be careful. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, then in your head again, you divide this by this. What is left for you if you do the division? X minus 4 here will cancel that x minus 4. What is left for me is 1x. Take that x and multiply it to the numerator of the first fraction. The numerator is also x coincidentally. So that x from here will be multiplied to this x. It becomes x squared. Yes? And then I have a negative sign here. Repeat the process. Divide this in your head by that one. What is left? X minus 4. And x minus 4 should be multiplied in the numerator. If you write something like this, that is wrong. Yes? So you have to multiply the whole expression by the numerator. Yes? Okay, and then continue. So you need to multiply minus 2 inside, so it becomes x squared minus 2x plus 8. And then divide it by x times x minus 4. Of course, if you remember, this is a quadratic expression. Might be we can factorize it even more if it is possible. But here it's not possible. Why? You remember, you need to ask yourself, I need two integers so that the sum is this number and the product is this number. Can you imagine two numbers whose product is positive 8 and the sum is negative 2? If you think a little bit, you will not be able to find that. Yes, that there are no numbers. But of course, this is not a systematic way. If you want to systematically do that, you remember, you have to calculate delta. But when you calculate delta, b squared minus 4ac, then it becomes 4 minus 32, which is negative. And when it is negative, it means that there are no roots. And if there are no roots, you cannot factorize it. Yes. So this means that this is end of the story. You just stop here. But if you want to, you can remove the pair of brackets at the end after you are convinced that this is not, it's not compulsory, so let me change my color. If you want to, you can write it as x squared minus 2x plus 8, and then divide it by x squared minus 4x. This last part is not compulsory, but I myself prefer. When I am convinced that it is no longer simplifiable, what I do, I will continue and multiply the denominator. And I hope that you are not at this stage, you learned quite well that you are not allowed to simplify any one of these x's, yes? Because they are not factors, they are summaries. Okay, so let me give you another example. So today I just want to solve examples because that is very important. And there are good examples in the book, you can work on yourself. Okay, so what happens if I want to simplify this? For example, 5x divided by x plus 1. Let me write this time added to, for example, 3. How should I do this if I want to do this addition? Yes?
Just imagine it's that's 3 over 1.
1, yeah, so I change my color. So this is part of the solution. 3 means 3 over 1. And then what I have to do, I have to find a common multiple between these two, but that is trivial. What's that?
X plus 2. X plus 1.
X plus 1 itself, yes. And then you divide x plus 1 in your head by x plus 1, which becomes 1. You multiply 1 by the numerator, it becomes 5x. And then you have positive sign here. And then what you have? You have 3. You divide this in your head by 1. The result will be x plus 1. And then you multiply x plus 1 by the numerator. But don't forget to put pair of brackets. And then, of course, you shouldn't stop because you want to simplify it as much as possible. So the denominator would be x plus 1. The numerator will become 5x plus 3x plus 3. But 5x plus 3x is 8x plus 3 divided by x plus 1. And I hope that you agree that this cannot be simplified anymore. Okay, let me increase the level a little bit. So number 4, 8 over a squared minus 2a. And then what I have plus 4 over a. We want to do this addition. Okay, this is one of those cases so that if you multiply them, even though it will work, but then you will face problems. Of course, it becomes harder. So it is not efficient to multiply this by that and consider this as a least common multiple. So what should I do? You have to first factorize the denominators, because if you want to find the least common multiple, the first thing that you have to do is to factorize each one of those expressions. But is it in the factorized form? No. So it means the first thing that you do in your solution, you copy and paste everything except those parts that you want to factorize. A cannot be factorized, so just let me write it down. But this can be factorized. How? By pulling an A out. Yes? Agree? That's the factorized form of the first expression. So that is extremely important to do this first step. And then think about the least common multiple. What would be the least common multiple? Can you tell me? This is the most important part. If you don't have any problems here, the rest of it is just simple algebra. Yes?
A times A minus 2.
Yes, this will serve as the least common multiple. Why? Because of course every number is divisible by itself, but you immediately realize that this expression is also divisible by this A because of having this A. So I don't need to make it bigger. So that is the common multiple on the one hand. On the other hand, this is the lowest possible one. Because if I just ignore one of them, then it is not divisible at least with one of them. Okay, and then in your head, you divide this expression by that expression how many times? 1 times, yes? And then you multiply 1 here, so it becomes 8. And then you have addition here, so you put plus. And you divide this in your head by that. What's the answer?
A minus 2.
A minus 2, but you have to write a minus 2 and multiply it in the numerator. Yes? And now you shouldn't stop here. You don't, so this is my advice for you. Do not touch the denominator at all. If you want, you can touch it at the very end. But don't touch it because I need factorized 4. So keep the denominator as it is, but try to simplify the numerator. So I have 8 plus, I multiply 4 inside, it becomes 4a minus 8. And then I have divided by a minus 2. And then you see that this 8 and that 8 are cancelled now. So I will have 4a divided by multiplied by a minus 2. But can I go further? Yes. Because now this is a factor. This is also the same factor. This is why I told you, do not multiply this. So this becomes 1 times and this becomes 1 times. So the numerator is 4 times 1, which is 4. The denominator is 1 times this expression, and I don't need any pair of brackets anymore. So you see, this is one of those cases. This is the first time that this happened, yes? Usually up to these examples, when I simplified the numerator, I was not able to simplify it more. But this is one of those exceptions. So you see, after being simplified, I can simplify more, which was not evident from the beginning. So this is extremely important, okay? Let me give you another of this type of example. So number 5. X over x squared minus 9, and then minus 7 over x plus 3. Okay, so let me repeat the process again so that you learn. First of all, you see that I have 2 rational expressions, that I'm subtracting them. The first thing that I have to do is to find the least common denominator, or the least common multiple. But for that, I have to factorize the denominators, okay? The denominator, this one, is factorizable, yes? By which pattern? Conjugate pattern. So this is the first step. So you copy and paste those parts that you are not supposed to touch, and then you just factorize this. And I hope that you know that x plus 3 is not reducible anymore, so we keep it like that. So this is the crucial first step. The second step is to read the common denominator. So can you read it for me? The least common, not just the common denominator. The least common denominator. What is that?
X squared minus 9.
So don't write it as, yes, you are right, but write it exactly in the factorized form. So it becomes what? X minus 3, x plus 3. Yes, what Gustav said is completely correct, but I don't want to go back, yes? Yeah. I want to use the new expression. Is that understandable for everyone? Yes? Be careful. If you multiply that, this will not be this. If you multiply, what you get x minus 3, x plus 3, another x plus 3. This will definitely work, but much harder. So don't do that. If you just want to multiply everything, you have to pay a price later. Okay? So that's because if the question is a little bit harder, then you are making it even more hard. Okay, so don't do that. And then the repeated process, the process is as before. So you divide this expression by that in your head, so it becomes what? 1 times, yes? This one divided by itself is 1. You multiply 1 in the numerator. You have subtraction. You divide this in your head by that one. What will happen? X minus 3. X minus 3 should be multiplied there. And be careful, don't lose these pair of brackets. And then take my recommendation seriously. It means that do not multiply them. Keep them in the factorized form until the very end. Okay, I multiply 7 inside. It becomes minus 7x plus 21. I'm not allowed to stop here because I can see that the numerator can be simplified more. So it becomes minus 6x plus 21 and then divided by x minus 3, x plus 3. Yes?
Bobak,
Yes?
when you have x on top of there, you said you only multiply it one time.
Yes.
Why?
Because I told you that whenever you have your common denominator,
Yeah.
this is the thing that you need to repeat for this one and that one. You take this one in your head
Yes.
and then divide it by the denominator of the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
And then what is left for you, you take that one and multiply it here.
I was confused. I thought you should divide it by x plus 3.
No, x plus 3 is for the second one.
Okay.
And that becomes x minus 3. If I divide this by x plus 3, x minus 3 is left.
Yeah.
And I will take x minus 3 and multiply it here. This is why you see it here.
Okay.
Okay, can I factorize the numerator? The answer is yes. For example, I can factor, but I need to look a little bit ahead of me. There is no goal, even though I can factorize it, but this is useless. Why? If I factor a 3 out, what is left? Is minus 2x plus 7. And of course, in the denominator, I have those expressions. But still, I cannot simplify. Yes, do you understand? So even if I can factorize the numerator, but even if I do that, I cannot simplify. So why should I do that? Instead, I would prefer to keep it like this and then multiply them back, even though the last step is not compulsory. So I myself prefer to write it here. And I would say that when I ask write it in the simplest possible form, I don't know. Might be we consider this a simpler form than that. Yes. So yeah, in that case, might be you need to stop here. Or if you want to, I prefer to write it in this way. So it doesn't matter, of course. So yeah, that's completely optional. Okay, let us solve a little bit more interesting problems now. Number 6. We want to solve this problem. Yeah, let me make it a little bit harder. So 4x squared divided by x to the power of 4 minus 16, and then plus x divided by x squared minus 4, and then minus 1 over x minus 2. So maybe this is the first serious problem. I want to simplify this expression as much as possible. So by the way, you shouldn't be in a hurry. The thing that you know is I have 3 rational expressions. I am adding and subtracting them correspondingly. The first thing that you need to do is to factorize the denominators as much as possible, okay? So either you can do it in your head, or you can just write this as part of your solution, okay? You don't need to do this in scratch paper. For example, let us just do it like this. I take the blue pen. It means whatever I write here is the solution. So x to the 4 minus 16, I want to factorize this. So what is your suggestion? Conjugate pattern. So it becomes what? X squared minus 4 and x squared plus 4. Can I continue this factorization?
Yes.
Yes. The first one is again the conjugate pattern, so you have to continue that. So this becomes x minus 2, x plus 2. But the last one cannot be factorized because I have a positive sign there, so I just copy and paste that. So this is something that you can do. But for the second one, the question is even simpler. You have already done that. X squared minus 4 can be written as x minus 2, x plus 2. This is up to you. You can just do it. Don't do it in a scratch paper. If you want to do it in your solution. If you want, and then move it back into your question. So there is nothing here. You can just do it as you like. Okay, now that you are sure that you have done the factorization part properly, what you have to do, you have to rewrite your question by putting these expressions instead. So what I do, I would say that therefore the expression becomes equal to, I would write 4x squared, and the denominator becomes that expression, long expression, x minus 2, x plus 2, and then what? X squared plus 4. And then I have plus. The numerator is x as before, but x squared minus 4 has been factorized here. And the last one, we cannot factorize it anymore, so that is just a copy and paste. I don't think it is hard. Can you just guess what would be the best choice for the common denominator here? Which one is the common denominator? The first one contains not only itself, but also this one and that one. So I cannot make it smaller than that. So it means that I copy and paste the first one. I want you to understand that is the only crucial part. If you understand this, other things are just technical. You need to improve your skills, yes? So why this is a good one? Because first of all, this one is itself, so it is divisible by itself. This one is also divisible by that one because it contains this factor. It also contains that factor. Of course, it contains an extra factor, no worries. This one is also suitable for that one, yes, because it contains that factor. So that's the best choice. Now do it in your head. If you divide this expression in your head by that expression, what is this? What is left? 1. And then you multiply 1 in the numerator of that expression, so it's 4x squared. Next, you see addition, so you put addition before going further. And then what you need to do in your head, you need to take this one, and then divide it in your head by that one. What is left? Plus 4, and then you multiply it in the numerator. Be careful, do not forget the pair of brackets. And then minus, because I have subtraction here, and then repeat the process. Divide this in your head by that. What is left? This expression is left, and then I have to multiply it by the numerator. You don't need to write 1, but let me emphasize what I am doing. Okay? This is the first part. In principle, this is the only new part for you. The rest of it, I told you that my recommendation is to keep this until the very end. And then simplification of this one is a Math 1C problem. So it's a little bit harder, might be Math 2C problem. But that is just doing it. So by copy and pasting the denominator, x minus 2, x plus 2, x squared plus 4, and then 4x squared is already in its simplified form. I multiply x inside, it becomes x cubed plus 4x, okay? And then be careful here, you can take, if you are lazy a little bit, to write down. So what you can do, you can multiply this on top. X times x squared is x cubed, x times 4 is 4x, 2 times x squared is 2x squared, 2 times 4 is 8. Yes? But there is a crucial negative 1 behind that. This negative 1 should be multiplied here, 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 and there. So it means that it will change all positive signs to negative signs. So be careful about that. Many students multiply this correctly, but forget about multiplying the negative sign in the others. So the answer would be minus x to the 3, minus 4x, minus 2x squared, minus 8. And now try to simplify it even more, yes? It is possible. You see, x to the 3, be careful. This way of simplification, I am cancelling them. Don't think 1 is left. I am subtracting, yes? If I subtract a number by itself, from itself, it becomes 0. If I divide a number by itself, this is also a cancellation, but the answer is 1. So be careful. This is the subtractive cancellation. So 0 is left. Another one is 0 also. That's good. This one and that one are also simply cancelled. Can I simplify this? Yes. 4x squared is similar to 2x squared, and then I'm subtracting them. So it becomes 2x squared. Yes? So let me write it in the line below. So what happens? This becomes 2x squared. And then I have a minus 8 at the end. And then here I have what? X minus 2, x plus 2. And then I will have x squared plus 4. But can I simplify it more? Yes. I can factor a 2. So then it becomes x squared minus 4. Then I will have x minus 2, x plus 2. By the way, this is compulsory in this problem. Because here I can simplify. I can factorize this a little bit more. It becomes x minus 2, x plus 2. And in the denominator, I will have x minus 2, x plus 2, x to the power of 2 plus 4. And then you see that this factor and that factor are gone. These two are also gone. But gone means division here. So this means what is left? 1, 1, 1, 1. And if I multiply the numerator, it becomes 2 times 1 times 1, it's 2. If I multiply the denominators, it becomes x squared plus 4. That is probably the first interesting problem, yes? So you see, this expression is exactly this expression, 2 over x squared plus 4. And it is much easier, I hope that you agree with me, if I'm supposed to work with this expression, I prefer to work with this equal expression. Of course, there is something that you need to remember. This equality is valid if the denominators are not 0. For example, if x is equal to 2, this is not equal to that one. If x is equal to minus 2, this is not equal to that one. If x is not 2 and not minus 2, then that expression is always equal to that expression. So this is what I expect you to be able to do at this level. Yes.
2 and minus 2. Is it because you can't divide by 0?
Yes. Yeah, so this is the problem at the level of Math 3C that I expect you to be comfortable with in this calculation. Yes?
What level problem is this?
I wouldn't consider it A-level problem here. I would probably consider a C-level problem.
C.
Yes? Yes?
It takes half an hour.
Yes. No problems, but so for example, if you walk from home here, it might take 1 hour. It doesn't mean that's A-level skill that you learn to walk to school. Yes?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, but we have to practice. I want to invest a little bit on this topic. So let us continue in solving more interesting problems, okay? Now at least you know what is the flavor.
Why is this important? Isn't like
No, because for example, next lesson we want to talk about limits of functions. In those limits, you usually have a rational expression. You know how to simplify them if you want to calculate the limit. And if we go to the next chapter, we want to talk about derivative. In the derivative, you need to know how to calculate limit. And if you go to trigonometry, so if you want to solve trigonometric equations and things like that, you need to know how to simplify things, yes? So that's a crucial, so yeah, you need to trust me on that. That's really important. Okay, so let us see. Okay, let me give you, this is also a good example here. So let us solve this together, okay? Number, what was the number, do you remember?
7.
This becomes 7?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So 7 is this one. 2x over x squared plus 5x plus 6. Yes, and then plus you have 5 over x squared minus 5x minus 14. Okay, and then I will go to a little bit more interesting problems using these Iranian problems, yes? Yes. So here, if I want to solve that, what is your suggestion? The recommendation is you have two rational expressions you're supposed to add. So the first thing comes to mind is to find the least common multiple or the least common denominator. But for that, the first question is, can I factorize them? If you cannot, of course, then you have to multiply them. That's the only thing. Yes? But if you can factorize them and you mistakenly multiply them, you will be in trouble. Okay? It doesn't mean that it will not work, but it works much harder. Okay? So the first question is that, can I factorize the denominator? So you need to take your pen and factorize it in the question paper itself. You don't need to go to scratch paper. That's part of the problem. So x squared plus 5x, I hope that these numbers are not hard for you. This should be the sum. This should be the product.
2 and 3?
2 and 3, yes. So I open two pairs of brackets. I put one x here, one x there. Then I will guess my numbers. You told me the numbers, positive 2 and positive 3. It doesn't matter which one you write with positive 2, which one you positive 3. That's the factorized form of this. And I will do the same thing for the next one. Hopefully it is possible. But you need to be careful about the signs as well. So you need two numbers. So two integers. If you want to guess real numbers, this is useless. Okay. So two integers whose sum is s minus 5 and the product is minus 14. Can you guess them?
Minus 7 and 2.
Minus 7 and positive 2. Yes. So you just put two pairs of brackets, include one x in each one of them, and what were the numbers? It doesn't matter which one you write first. Minus 7, positive 2. Yes? Okay, now, therefore, the expression is what? By the way, you don't need to write. If you are confident, you can start writing equality and write this and write that. Okay? That's up to you. You have a lot of freedom, so that's up to you what to do. I myself prefer not to do it. If I want to solve it myself, I will write equality here and factorize this and factorize that instead of writing therefore and the expression is that. So the question mark becomes equal to 2x divided by this expression, which I factorized it, and then plus, I have 5, and then the other one I would write x minus 7, x plus 2, yes? Now, you see, if I ask you what is the least common multiple, what would be your answer? X plus 2, 1 times. I don't need to repeat it 2 times because 1 is enough. And then I have x plus 3, and then x minus 7. So that is the only thing that I need. I don't need to have more than that. Can I drop one of them? No. So this is exactly the right amount of expressions that I need. First of all, it contains all the factors. Secondly, I cannot ignore even one of them because then I will not have one factor for me. So then you need to divide this in your head by the first denominator. What would be the answer? X minus 7. What I'm supposed to do with x minus 7? To multiply it here. And then I have addition. And then I divide this in my head by that one. What is left?
X plus 3.
X plus 3. I have to multiply it by the numerator. Okay, so we continue here now. Okay, so simplify the numerator. If you listen to my recommendation, you will not multiply the denominator, so don't touch it and just copy and paste it. So this is the denominator, but in the numerator you know what to do. You have to multiply. So this becomes 2x squared minus 14x, and then I have to multiply that 5 inside. So it becomes 5x plus 15. But I can simplify this a little bit. So this becomes 2x squared minus 9x plus 15 divided by x plus 2, x plus 3, x minus 7. Okay. But it is not finished yet. Might be the numerator can also be factorized. And that's a little bit harder ones. The ones that you have, this one is not equal to 1. So you need to recall yourself. So what was the method? Do you remember? So if you want to factorize the numerator, because there is no guarantee yet, you cannot leave it like that, because it might happen that when you factorize this, one of the factors are one of them and you can simplify that. We don't know yet. We have to check it, by the way. So what we have to do, because this number is not 1, so might be you need to use the general method. What was the general method? You need to put this equal to 0 and solve it yourself. So it becomes delta b squared 81 minus 4 times this one times that one is what?
Wait,
So it
hold
is,
on.
yes?
Couldn't you just put 2 in front?
What? No.
Of the method you did before.
No, you can do the, but you need to write 2 x minus x1, x minus x2. Don't get confused. These x1 and x2 are not the numbers that you are guessing.
Okay.
These x1 and x2 are the roots.
Okay.
Okay, but I see that this doesn't work. So, yeah, why? Because delta is negative.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yes. Because this 1 to power 2 is 81. 4 times this one is 8. But 8 times 100, this one is what? 120, and it's negative. When delta is negative, it means that I do not have my roots, so it means it's not factorizable. So that's the end of the problem.
That's it.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
But it was, so I shouldn't erase that. That was part of the solution. Because you need to show me that you can convince me this is the end of the problem. Sorry for erasing. Let me write it down. So 2x squared minus 9x plus 15. I put it equal to 0. I calculate delta is 80 minus 120 negative. Not factorizable. So this should be included in the problem. Then this is not factorizable. Then you can accept this as the final answer. Yes.
I don't really use the ABC formula. Can I use the delta in the PQ formula somehow?
No, the delta in PQ formula is different from the delta in ABC formula. The delta in PQ formula is P over 2 squared minus 4Q. Minus Q. Yes. Yes, you can use that. But I really don't recommend that, because if you want to use PQ formula, you have to divide by 2. And then you have to work with 9 over 2. Of course, 9 over 2 is 4.5, and if you have your calculator, no problems. But assume that this is 7. And then if you divide 9 over 7, you have to work with 9 over 7. You are not allowed to put it in the calculator, because you will not get exact values. That's up to you. Any questions so far? Okay. Now let us have some more fun problems, okay? Yeah. So what we can do here, let me see which one is good to do. Yeah, let me start with simple ones. Let me give you one and wait for you a little bit, okay? So that I want to see how do you solve the problem. So let me write it here. This is number 8. I want you to simplify. It's not hard, by the way. It might be a little bit lengthy, but you can manage that, I think. So, and I have the final answer in front of me, so when you have your answer, please let me know. I want you to simplify this. I will wait a little bit for it. By the way, you can also check your final answer using GeoGebra. That's also some skill that I want you to improve. Then you have your final answer in the simplified form. Please let me know. Do you want to answer the first 8, number 8? Let me see. Yes.
Damn.
Your answer is correct. Yes, thank you. So do you need more time?
No.
What is your answer?
1/2. It's not the same.
No. So that answer is not right. You need to know where the mistake comes in. I don't know if you checked it with the GeoGebra or not. That's also something I want you to learn, even though you will not be allowed to use that in the exam, but it's also a good skill to improve. Okay, so let me solve the first one. You see why you have made a mistake, some of you.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I want to do, I want to have a common denominator. So I have to factorize as much as possible. So x plus 1, I just copy and paste the numerator of this one, but I factor a 2 out here. You see, I intentionally gave you questions that the factorization is simple, because I want you to see that do you learn how to, after factorization, do you know how to find the least common denominator? I'm completely sure every one of you knows how to factorize this. So for the first one, you just need to pull a 2 out. For the second one, the same story. I just write it and then pull a 2 out. For the third one, it's a very famous pattern for your eyes right now. It becomes the conjugate pattern. So it becomes x minus 1, x plus 1. And by the way, the last one is the repetition of the third one. So nothing else, nothing new. You see? X squared plus 1. Okay. Now, the only point that I want you to know is how to find the least common multiple between all those 4 fractions. So can you tell me what is that?
2, and then x minus 1 and x plus 1.
Plus 1, yes. So don't write 4, yes? You don't multiply. So 2, x minus 1, x plus 1. I hope that everyone agrees that this is the best, this is the least common denominator. If you have problems at this stage, please let me know so that I explain again. Everyone agrees that this is the least common denominator. Okay. And then you do it in your head. Divide this by that expression. 2 is gone, x minus 1 is gone, x plus 1 is left. And then you need to take this one which is left and multiply it by the numerator, which is coincidentally the same thing. So it becomes what? Instead of writing x plus 1 multiplied by x plus 1, I would prefer to write x plus 1 squared. And then the same here. You divide this in your head by that one. 2 is gone, x plus 1 is gone, x minus 1 is left. By the way, I have subtraction. At first you have to put subtraction. And then x minus 1, which is left, should be multiplied in the same numerator, but it is also coincidentally the same. For the same reason, I can write it like that. Okay, and then let us continue. So I need to divide this in my head by this one. What is left for me? 2. And of course, before that I have subtraction. I multiply 2 here, it becomes 8x. And then I repeat the process for this one, but before that I have addition. This one divided by this is 2 times. I multiply 2 by the whole numerator, not just first term. Not just the first term. This is the way that you have to write. I don't know how many of you could write up to here, right?
Yeah.
So that is the new lesson. The next lesson, if you haven't concluded the right answer, is because you miscalculate something. This part that I am just doing right now here is the new lesson. Okay, so that is, at least it is good that you don't have problems with the new lesson. Okay, so here I have to use the squaring pattern to expand that. And if you have listened to my recommendation, we will not touch the denominator until the very end, yes? So this one, x squared, 2 times the first one times the second one is squared. Minus, be careful, this minus sign behind is for the old one. First of all, you are not allowed to multiply minus sign right now, because you have to raise it to power 2, and when you got the answer, you multiply everything by a minus sign. So I raise it to power 2, it becomes x squared minus 2x plus 1. Squaring pattern. But you see that I have still kept this negative sign there, and then I have minus 8x, and then I multiply 2 inside, so it becomes 2x squared plus 2. And then I will go and continue. So this becomes 2x minus 1x plus 1. Then the first part I cannot simplify at all, so I just copy and paste. But for the second one, I want to remove the pair of brackets. I multiply the negative sign in, so it becomes negative x squared. The second one becomes positive 2x, and the last one becomes negative 1. And then I will have minus 8x, and then 2x squared plus 2. Okay, please let me know at each stage if you have problems. Can I simplify? So, copy and paste the denominator for the time being. Okay, so this x squared, negative 1, and this positive x squared are gone. 2x squared is left. And this 2x plus 2x is 4x, minus 8x is negative 4x. What is the number left? This minus 1 and positive 1 are gone. What is left for me is 2. Most of the problem is done now, but it is not complete, because can I factor something in the numerator? You have to do it, even if you realize it is useless. You remember the previous problem, we did it, but we realized it was useless. So here we want to do it here. I factor a 2 out in the numerator. So it becomes 2x squared minus 2x plus 1, and the denominator is 2x minus 1x plus 1. Of course, if I want, I can simplify this 2 by this 2 right now, but let me complete and then do that. So let me just write this one. I hope that this pattern is familiar to your eyes. So what is that? It's x minus 1 squared, yes? And then I have a 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 1. So this 2 and that 2 are gone. This x minus 1 will cancel one of them, but one of them is left. So what is left in the numerator is 1 factor of x minus 1, and what is left in the denominator is 1 factor of x plus 1. So that would be the simplified version of this expression. So that the answer that Robert showed was completely right. I don't know how many of you got this answer right?
Almost.
Almost, okay. So Robert, you win actually the competition here. Okay, so, but for me, it's very important that you have written this part right. Because if you have written this part right, it means that you learn whatever you need to learn for this lesson. Okay? Okay, and then I don't know how many of you got this one. There is a reason that I brought this up. The solution is not that hard if you understand the point. If you don't understand the point, might be you should be able to solve it, but it becomes lengthy. So, how many of you solved this one? Do you have any answer for this?
I don't think we have.
I didn't get try for it.
You didn't try?
No, I haven't.
We didn't have.
So I can give you 5 minutes, because the lesson ends in 15 minutes, then 10 minutes to explain, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, Alexander?
I think it's 2a divided by c squared minus ca.
Okay, more or less, I don't think. If I have written everything right here, that is not the answer. There was a reason that I brought this up. Hopefully, I haven't written it wrong. Let me double check. A minus b, a minus c, b minus a, b minus c, c minus a, c minus b. So, yes, I have written it exactly according to the book, so hopefully this would be right. I don't know, let us talk a little bit. So here, the first step, factorizing, is not needed actually. So you should be happy that, okay, this is in factorized form already. But what is your guess for the common denominator? Yes?
Can't you factorize a negative 1 and then get a common denominator?
That is the idea.
Right.
If you don't do that, then you have to write 6 of them.
Exactly.
Because a minus b is similar to b minus a, but it is not exactly the same thing. if you want to start solving this problem without thinking about this point, you have to write this as the common denominator.
Wow.
Because a minus b is similar to b minus a, but there's a difference. If you don't pay attention to this point, you have to write this as the common denominator. And when you divide this expression by this one, what happens? 2 of them will gone, 4 of them will be left. And then you have to multiply 4 of them, which gives you 16 terms. 16 terms, 16 terms, so it would be 48 terms. But if you suffer, you will solve the problem at the end, yes? But the point is to be smart, because I told you, you need to pay attention to these details. Whenever you have a minus b and b minus a, you need to remind yourself about that point that I told you, that you can just factor a minus sign and switch them, swap them. Yes? So, and then it doesn't matter which one you want to swap. For example, I will write it in that way. I will write 1 over a minus b. I decided something here. I decide to keep a minus b and a minus c. Okay, when I go to the next one, do I want b minus a or a minus b?
A minus b.
A minus b. But this is b minus a. So what I'm supposed to do? I have to put a minus sign there. Sorry, here. A minus sign here, and then swap them. It becomes a minus b, b minus c. But hopefully you understand there is no reason that I keep this negative sign here. I can bring it up, because 1 over minus a box is minus 1 over that box. Yes. So what I do, I will do this. I will write this a minus b. Of course, I will keep this one b minus c, but there is a price to pay for that, to put a minus sign here. Is that understandable? Okay. And now when I go to the next one, which one I decide to keep, for example, I decided to keep a minus b, a minus c, and I don't know, you need to decide about b and c. Which one do you want to keep? Apparently, I have already decided to keep b minus c. Okay, so can you tell me what to do now? I copy and paste the numerator. I have c minus a, but I decided to keep a minus c. So what should I do? I need to take a minus sign out and swap them. Yes? But I also decided to keep b minus c. But what I have c minus b. So I have to take another minus sign out and swap them. But these minus signs that I pull out, they will cancel out. Yes? So it means that I can keep the sign as it is and write a minus c, b minus c. Yes? I pull the minus sign from here, I swap them. I pulled another minus sign from here, I swap them. The minus signs that I pull out, they will cancel each other, so nothing will be changed. And now, I hope that you can tell me what is the common denominator now. What is the common denominator now?
A minus b.
A minus b,
minus c.
a minus c, and b minus c.
Right.
Yes? Now, is it enough? Yes, because if you see, it contains all these factors. Now, divide this in your head by that one. What is left? b minus c multiplied in the numerator. So let me exaggerate this a little bit by writing it in detail. You really don't need to write. You can just write b minus c. But the next thing coming in is negative. And then divide this in your head by that one. What is left? A minus c. Agree? And you multiply a minus c by the numerator. And then you have addition. You divide this by that. What is left? A minus b is left. You multiply it by the numerator. Agree with me? Do you agree with what I have written on the board?
How did you get a minus b? That's the thing I did wrong.
So this one divided by that one is the same process. A minus c cancel that one. B minus c cancel that one. A minus b is left. The same process. Okay, now my recommendation. I told you don't touch the denominator. And then I multiply the numerator. 1 times b is b, 1 times minus c is minus c. Here I have to multiply negative 1. So it becomes negative a positive c. Here I have to multiply positive 1. It becomes a minus b. Okay, then what happens? This positive b and this negative b cancel. This negative c, positive c cancel. and this negative a and positive a cancel. So what is left in the numerator?
1.
No.
0.
I knew that this is the
Zero.
reason. 0. This is the negative cancel. This is subtraction cancellation. I'm subtracting numbers. Don't get confused. I'm not simplifying something from the numerator and the denominator. That is division cancellation. I'm cancelling in the numerator. So what's left?
0.
0, not 1. And the denominator is the same. But I am facing a fraction whose numerator is 0. What is the answer?
0.
0. Because any fraction whose numerator is 0. So this expression is actually 0. It doesn't matter what you choose for A, B, and C. The only thing you have to be careful, A shouldn't be equal to B, A shouldn't be equal to C, B shouldn't be equal to C. Because otherwise you will have problems in the denominators. If you, for example, say, calculate this expression for A equals to 1, B equals to 2, C equals to 3, what's the answer? 0. So if I give you any triple so that these numbers are different mutually, then it doesn't matter which numbers, the answer is always 0, regardless of the values that I put in. So I think this was my goal, that you can, so the people who answered, I think you detected this idea, that swapping, but might be you have made some mistakes in the next calculations. Yes?
Yes.
Is that understandable now?
Yeah.
Okay, so please take the quizzes a little bit more seriously. As I told you, the result is a little bit worrisome for me. You didn't do very good there. So it means that when you get the final answer, try to find the final answer right again. Don't leave it. The exam was actually awful. Yes? So just try to do that again. And if you have questions, please come to my study time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.